Alright guys, I'm making another video mainly because I'm excited to have gotten some of the technical difficulties worked out with my phone, and so now this will be a little bit of a better recording. Also, we had a pretty good war despite what I thought you guys would do. Several of you did watch my previous video, and that was apparent, although it's obvious not all of you did. If this were a class at your school, you guys would have averaged a D minus, but it's not. So, you guys get a good grade. Like, I don't know, 59 out of 60 stars is definitely an A plus. So let's look at some of the highlights of this war. We're gonna look at several different attacks, some of the ones that were pretty cool, and then we're gonna talk about a couple things on how we improve those attacks and how you guys don't need to stick around and wait for me to tell you, or for Drum, for that matter, to tell you what bases to attack next. We're going to kind of talk about that so we can do that a little more effectively. So let's start off with just acknowledging like all these 3 stars. Good stuff. We left 1 open star. Maybe if we were a little more organized, we could have got that. We're going to talk about that base in particular, but let's talk about what I thought was the best attack of the war. So I've got a couple of awards to give out here. The first one is what I think is the best attack in the war, and then we'll talk about a couple of honorable mentions. And so that best attack in the war goes to Spades here on base number 3. Let's rewatch this, and I'm going to tell you why. We're also going to talk about how we can improve this a little bit. So before we start to play, this is an odd base layout. It's not a strong base layout, and we'll talk about why that is. But if we don't put down a really well-placed attack, it could be difficult. Luckily, we had Spades put down his dragons just about perfectly, and he did a lot of the things that we talked about in our previous video. He took all lightnings, took all dragons, and we had some balloons in our clan castle. So I'd love, in a case like this, with this base being odd and it taking a really long time to get balloons into the middle, it may not make sense to take 4 extra balloons and 11 dragons. I still prefer to do it that way, but as you'll see, it can be hard to kind of time it. So I don't hate that we went all dragons on this one and then balloons in our clan castle. But this was just a simple zap drag. But the key here was, and Spades asked me about this right before he attacked. He's going to come in from this edge over here. He's going to come along this edge. And the key in this drop was to target these 2. There's an army camp here and an army camp here. And we targeted those first and then laid the rest of the dragons out here, and then that way the dragons would funnel in through this little section with the expos. So let's see how that worked. Yeah, I think it worked pretty well. Now we're going to talk about, so we just zapped all 4 air defenses, and that's not a problem. I think there was a slightly better option here that we'll talk about here in just a second. But notice we threw our Archer Queen in there. We dropped our dragons really well. The dragons are staying in a pretty good line here. We didn't get a ton of value out of the balloons in the clan castle because they got so far ahead of the dragons. That's okay. We ran into some good luck here because there weren't a lot of structures around these Inferno towers. His dragons were able to target them pretty quickly and knock them down. That was fortunate and part of the bad base design. If there was any structure in front of those Inferno towers, his dragons don't get to those quickly enough, and he probably ends up with a 2-star on this base. So a little bit fortunate there, but again, it was laid down really, really well. So attack of the war right there. It was clear that Spades had watched the previous video and taken a lot of it to heart, and we end up with 3 stars on their base 3. Now, let's talk about a couple things that could have made this even better. And some of this, I even mentioned to Spades right after he attacked. But let's start with our spell selection. So we went with all lightning spells so we could take out all 4 of these air defenses, and I don't hate that decision. One thing I would encourage you guys to consider is alternate ways to get some of these air defenses down that will free up spells, so you can bring things like freeze spells so that you can get these to help delay the damage that will come from the Inferno Towers. So over here, if we would have started over here and maybe dropped our queen here on maybe this army camp, or if we dropped a dragon on the army camp and then started our queen on one of these two collectors, the queen would work her way over here to the collectors. She'd take out this wizard tower. She'd come over here to this bomb tower, and then she would target this. Now, the trade-off here is you need a high-level queen, because this expo is going to start tagging her at some point, or it should. I don't know. It would depend kind of exactly where the queen stood. But that would free up 3 extra spell slots just by using our queen. And if we watch this replay, we'll watch it on high speed. We don't get a ton of value out of the queen from where we dropped it. And the reason for that is because there's no other ground troops, so she is going to take the fire from every ground troop, including all 3 of these expos when she comes in the middle. Now, she lasted longer than I thought she would. Wait a minute. This expo is set to... Well, I don't know how to tell anymore. These 2 expos are set to ground and air, and this one is ground. So maybe she didn't take as much as I thought she would, and maybe that's why she lasted longer than I thought she would. I thought these were all set to ground. But if we watch again, let's just watch the queen specifically. So the queen gets dropped there. Again, she does a bunch of damage, and that's fine. But about midway through here, I think her ability just got popped, and she's down. So there. So we are 60% through the base, and we already have our 2-star, but the queen is already down. I don't know how much she actually added as she came in through here, and I think it would have been better served to try to use her to take out that air defense and then have some extra spells to freeze these. I'm not saying that's going to be the case every time, but it's just something to consider. And queens can be fussy creatures, so they don't always go exactly where you want them. So, it also depends on your comfort level. But again, attack of the war right here to spades. So good job. We're going to go to another honorable mention here, and he's going to be really excited to have this highlighted, but I know Missile has been working on his hope attacks. So, that's not it. It was over here. Where are your hope attacks here? Here we go. Okay, so the base that Missile attacked, they were 2 Town Hall 9s, but we needed those. I think he was itching at a chance to take on some of these Town Hall 10s, but that doesn't always happen. But I think it was this one on base 8. So for those who don't know, what the hope attack is hogs and P.E.K.K.A.s. And you use your P.E.K.K.A.s and your heroes to try to get into the center of the base, and then you use hogs to kind of go around the base. Now, this attack is really designed for those bases that have large sections. So like you can see here, we have these large sections of base, and makes it kind of tricky to like wall break into everything and things like that. So this is a good example of one where we can kind of go into the middle of the base and then use hogs on the outside of it. Now let's look at how this played out. I'm going to start it just at double time. You can see this attack didn't take very long because it's a Town Hall 9, and he's rocking his Town Hall 10 troops. So we get this stuff. Let me pause here. So we're kind of already in the middle of the base here. We got a bunch of troops here where Missiles just dropped the rage spell. We're starting off with our hogs over here to the left, and the hope is that the hogs will kind of travel around this outside perimeter. And we can heal them along. Oh, you started them on both sides. Maybe that's why this one went so fast. So usually I start them on one side, and then that way I can keep them healed up as they go along. But I think either way works. But the idea is that our main troops take out like the core of the base, and then the hogs take out everything on the outside of the base. So let me zoom back out here. We'll just kind of watch it play out. So he's got hogs, healing up the hogs on the right side. So he's using all 4 of his heal spells on the hogs, which is not a bad choice at all. And so those hogs are good and healthy, and now we've got hogs to clean up, and like he decimated this base. Now, again, this is missiles at Town Hall 10 attacking a Town Hall 9, and so I would hope that would go well, but it doesn't always. So it's a good attack. I do like the way he laid it down, and so that's pretty cool. A couple things to consider. In a case like this, bringing a Zeppelin as your siege machine, that Zeppelin will go really, really fast. It's going to be targeted by all the air defenses. Not a big deal. You brought a dragon in your clan castle. I wonder if more ground troops would have been beneficial. Maybe some bowlers or what's the chick's name that spins around? The redhead. Bring more of the redheads. When you guys get to be my age, you'll understand that you can't remember crap, and it's super frustrating. Valkyrie. That's what it is. Jeez. Valkyrie. Anyway, good attack. Nice hope attack. I would encourage all your Town Hall 10s to learn this attack. It's pretty simple to use, and I will show you that I use that on their number 1 base, and we'll look at my my attacks as well, because I think I have this hope attack that I would encourage you guys to learn, and there's another really powerful one that I used on base number 2. So we'll look at those here in a second. All right, the third honorable mention, or the second honorable mention, third best attack is, and I'm not just saying this because he's one of my favorite players, but it has to go to Drum. Drum here was attacking as a Town Hall 7. He's attacking a Town Hall 8. It was a tricky Town Hall 8. Now one of the reasons why I really want to show this attack is because it was complicated. And we're gonna look at a couple of attacks that went wrong in a second, and I think this is an example of how to do them right. So when we look at this is he has enough lightning spells to take out exactly 1 air defense. So he's going to take out this air defense over here, and then he has to account for this one up at the top here and this one over here with balloons. So it's tricky because as I said in the previous video, what we really want to do is lay down our dragons across this line, this edge. But we can't quite do that because the way the base is kind of staggered here. The dragons, if we just lay them all out between this army camp over here and this top corner, the dragons will tend to wrap around this base. So what we need to do is add them in slowly. So we're going to just do this on single time. Well, actually, let's speed it up until he zaps that. Okay, now we're going to slow back down and watch as these dragons get added. So we take out this first row of structures. We're using our Barbarian King to keep everyone from going to the top side. Now, a lot of really good patience here by Drum. He's adding balloons to get to this. Now notice he's still got 3 dragons that he hasn't laid down yet. And this is how you keep your lines even. You add them in, I don't want to say as needed, but as you see spots that need a dragon in them. So this is how he keeps a mostly consistent line here. This is, his dragons are really underpowered for this base. So this is a really, really good a good attack. It has to be nearly perfect to get the 3-star, which I think it was about this time. He was doing this as right before he left for school, and it was about this time that I heard him go, "Oh no, Dad, there's a hidden Tesla in the corner. I don't know why that's there. I don't know if this is going to happen." We'll speed up the rest, and we'll see that he does eventually get the 3-star. Not even close. It wasn't even close on time. I think he had a full 3 seconds left. So a good attack. But again, This is a really good lesson to learn, that we don't have to put all of our dragons down right at once. In fact, that's often not great. And he has just enough left to get the job done. So if we look at that again, I think at the time he drops his first spell, let's see, where is it? So right there, so 256. So he probably had 4 seconds left. So really good attack by Drum. I like it. Now, the reason why it's important to look at this base is we have to go look at, I don't want to call it a dishonorable mention, especially because he had the best attack in the war, but let's go look at Spade's second attack. And I think what we find is that this base is similar in many regards to the base that we just saw, Drum take, in that it appears kind of narrow because it's got like this staggered wall structure. And so I think what happened was, the thought was, we can funnel our dragons into this core and get a bunch of stuff and proceed on. However, anytime we start in a corner, we're asking for bad news, and that's what happened. So let's take a quick look. So we use our zaps to take out all the air defenses, and then we start in the corner. So I think there were exactly two hard and fast rules that I gave in the last video. Don't drop all your dragons at once, and don't start in a corner. And so, yeah, don't do those two things. It usually ends bad unless your troops are just super overpowered. Now, it's also fair to notice this base is a lot stronger than their base number 3. The layout is much stronger. You can see these Inferno towers are protected by structures, by these gold storages and these elixir storages, so it's hard to get to them without balloons. And so I think we get hung up there, and they kind of pick us off one by one because it just takes a long time to get in there. And without getting those, it's just really difficult. So again, this may be a really good example of, if we use our Archer Queen here, and she can take out this air defense, then we don't need to use lightning spells on it. And if we don't need to use those lightning spells, we can replace them with freeze spells, and those freeze spells can help us delay the impact of these Inferno towers until our balloons or dragons get a chance to get them. Okay, so it was a good effort. It was a 2-star, really, really important 2-star. I'd rather have you get this 2-star at, I think it was 70, was it just 70%, or I think it was like 78% or something like that. Really, really crucial. 77% 2-star, really crucial to get that 2-star. So again, not the way I would do the attack, but the result isn't terrible, so not so bad. Let's go look at and for those of you who are going to give Spades a hard time, I can pull up just about everyone who used a dragon attack here in this war, and y'all started in a corner and y'all dumped your dragons all really quickly. So don't go giving Spades a hard time. He absolutely crushed base number 3, which was a weird and awkward layout, and y'all know I can pull up just about every one of you. I will find you, and I will make you watch yourself doing that. All right, we're going to do 2 more quick things. We're going to look at both of my attacks on 1 and 2 really quick, and then we're going to talk about how we know what base to attack next.